The courtroom is quiet, the tension palpable, as the elderly man shuffles to the front. His steps are slow, deliberate, each one marked by the unmistakable uncertainty of someone who cannot see where they're going. Mr. Harold Jenkins, an 86-year-old blind man, stands before Judge Judy, his frailty evident as he grips his white cane. The weight of the world seems to press down on him. But it's not just age or his blindness that weighs heavy today. It's a mountain of debt, $14,200 in unpaid parking tickets. As he takes a seat at the plaintiff's table, the sheer magnitude of the charges is overwhelming. His face is a mixture of confusion and desperation. "I didn't park illegally," he insists, his voice shaking slightly. "I haven't been behind the wheel in months. I can't even see." Judge Judy doesn't flinch. Her expression is cold, analytical, as she examines the case files in front of her. The paperwork is thick, filled with dozens of parking violations, all under Mr. Jenkins' name. The issue is clear. The tickets are there, all written for illegal parking, but the question remains, how could a blind man, someone who cannot drive, possibly have committed these violations? The courtroom murmurs, an air of skepticism filling the room. Judge Judy turns her gaze to Mr. Jenkins, her sharp eyes cutting through his vulnerability. She's seen every kind of scam in her decades of experience, but this case feels different. The emotional stakes are high. A man who has lost his sight and his independence is now facing financial ruin over something he has no control over. How could this be happening to him? But as the audience watches, the tension only grows. There's something unsettling about the situation. The obvious question lingers in the air. Who is responsible for these tickets? Judge Judy's voice breaks the silence. "Mr. Jenkins, you say you haven't been driving, yet these tickets are piling up in your name. How do you explain this?" Her words hang in the air as she leans forward, waiting for his response. "I don't know," Mr. Jenkins replies, his voice tinged with confusion. "I can't drive. I can't even see where I'm parking. I don't know how this happened. Maybe it's a mistake." His words falter, as if he's trying to convince himself more than anyone else. Judge Judy doesn't react immediately. Instead, she flips through the file, her mind working quickly. "A mistake?" she asks, her tone skeptical. "Do you have anyone who helps you with your transportation? Someone who drives your car?" Mr. Jenkins hesitates, and then he nods, though reluctantly. "Yes, my nephew," he admits. "He's been helping me with errands, taking me places, and I trust him." His voice cracks slightly as he says this, the weight of family and trust now coming into the picture. This is where the story begins to shift. The idea that someone could be taking advantage of Mr. Jenkins, using his blindness as a shield, suddenly becomes a real possibility. But could his nephew, someone he trusted, be responsible for the mounting fines? The audience is left hanging, unsure of whether Mr. Jenkins' confusion is genuine or whether he's been misled. How far does this trust extend? Could his nephew have been using Mr. Jenkins' name to rack up these violations, thinking there would be no consequences? Judge Judy's eyes narrow as she processes this new information. "Your nephew," she repeats, her voice growing more firm. "Is he the one who drives your car?" The tension in the room rises as Mr. Jenkins nods again. "Yes, but I never thought." He's cut off by Judge Judy's next question. "Has your nephew been involved in these tickets in any way? Did you ask him about this?" I don't know. I haven't had a chance to talk to him about it yet." Judge Judy leans back, her expression unreadable. She's already starting to put the pieces together, but she won't reveal anything just yet. She's got more questions to ask, more digging to do. But one thing is clear. There's something more to this story than meets the eye. As the tension builds, the question still hangs in the air. Who's really responsible for these tickets? Is Mr. Jenkins being exploited by the one person he trusted the most? Or is there another twist to this story that no one expects? Before we dive into this shocking reveal, comment below if you've ever dealt with a mistake that almost cost you everything. And hit that like button if you're ready to see how Judge Judy handles this crazy case. The silence in the courtroom grows heavier, each tick of the clock echoing louder as Judge Judy leans forward, her gaze sharp and piercing. She's been in this game long enough to know when something doesn't add up, and right now, everything about this case feels wrong. She doesn't buy Mr. Jenkins' story entirely. Not yet, at least. There's something more going on, something hidden just beneath the surface, and she's determined to get to the bottom of it. Mr. Jenkins, she begins, her voice steady, but filled with that unshakable authority she's known for. You say you haven't been driving. But then how do you explain these tickets piling up in your name? How can a blind man rack up tickets if he can't even drive? The question hangs in the air, cold and calculated. Everyone in the room holds their breath, waiting for Mr. Jenkins to respond. But he seems lost for words, the confusion clearly etched on his face. He's been telling the truth, at least as he understands it. But now, with Judge Judy's pointed inquiry, cracks are beginning to show in his narrative. I haven't driven my car in months, Mr. Jenkins insists, his voice faltering slightly. I can't even see to park the car. How could I get all these tickets? His hands grip his cane tighter, as if it's the only thing keeping him steady. The emotional strain is starting to show. He's not just confused. He's beginning to feel the weight of the situation. Judge Judy's expression doesn't soften. Mr. Jenkins, she presses, her eyes narrowing. You're telling me you haven't been behind the wheel, yet these tickets keep coming in your name. Have you had anyone else driving your car? Someone you trust? The courtroom is eerily quiet as Mr. Jenkins hesitates. His face hardens with the burden of the truth, and for a moment, it seems like he might hold back from answering. He knows what he's about to say might lead them to a place he doesn't want to go, a place where trust is shattered. My nephew, he's been helping me with errands, Mr. Jenkins finally admits, his voice barely above a whisper. He's been taking me to appointments, driving me around, but I never thought. His words trail off, and the courtroom feels smaller, like the walls are closing in around him. Judge Judy listens intently, her mind racing. Your nephew, she repeats, her voice flat but with an undercurrent of suspicion. And has he ever taken a car without telling you? Mr. Jenkins seems to deflate, the weight of his trust in his family weighing heavily on his shoulders. I don't know. I don't think he'd do something like that, he says, his words tinged with doubt. But maybe he's used it without telling me. The room is thick with tension as the pieces start to fall into place. The nephew, the trusted family member, might be the one responsible for these mounting violations, but Mr. Jenkins, his blind, elderly uncle, has no way of proving it. Could his nephew have been using Mr. Jenkins' name to park wherever he wanted, thinking no one would ever suspect him? The more Judge Judy digs, the deeper the hole gets for this family dynamic. Judge Judy leans back in her chair, taking a moment to digest the new information. She's seen enough to know that something smells off. The nephew, a young man with seemingly good intentions, might have been the one exploiting his elderly uncle's blindness. But was it just negligence, or was it something more malicious? Was he trying to cover his tracks, taking advantage of Mr. Jenkins' vulnerability for his own gain? Judge Judy turns her gaze to the defendant's table, where the city's parking authority stands, holding the evidence, the long list of tickets, and the fines that seem to keep stacking up. The city claims they have all the proof they need to hold Mr. Jenkins accountable for these violations. But Judge Judy isn't buying it just yet. She knows there's more to this story, and she's not going to let it slip away. Her eyes lock onto the prosecutor. Do you have any additional evidence that connects Mr. Jenkins to these tickets directly? She asks, her tone sharp. The prosecutor hesitates, flipping through his files, but he comes up empty. There's nothing concrete that directly links Mr. Jenkins to the violations. The courtroom is buzzing with speculation. The audience is on edge, waiting for Judge Judy to make her move, waiting for her to shine the light on the truth. What was really going on here? Was Mr. Jenkins truly innocent, or was he being manipulated? Was his nephew taking advantage of his blindness, parking illegally without his uncle's knowledge? Judge Judy leans forward, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "Mr. Jenkins," she says, her gaze never wavering, "you're telling me that your nephew was driving your car, but you never questioned why these tickets kept coming in your name? Don't you find that suspicious?" The tension in the room escalates as Mr. Jenkins, struggling with his emotions, nods slowly. "Yes," he says, his voice cracking. "I should have seen it. I should have known something wasn't right." Are you as confused as Mr. Jenkins? Do you think someone's out to get him? Hit that like button, and let's see if Judge Judy can uncover the truth. The courtroom door opens, and in walks Mr. Jenkins' nephew, a young man in his late 20s, wearing a neatly pressed suit. His posture is upright, his demeanor polite, but there's something about his eyes, a flicker of nervousness, that doesn't quite match his composed exterior. The audience watches closely, sensing the shift in energy as he takes a seat at the defendant's table. He's here to explain his role in his uncle's situation, but something about the way he avoids eye contact with Judge Judy raises suspicions. Judge Judy wastes no time. "So you're Mr. Jenkins' nephew," she says, her voice as sharp as ever. "You've been helping him, running errands, driving him around. How do you explain these parking tickets in his name?" The nephew shifts in his seat. "I've been helping him with a lot of things. He's not in a condition to go out on his own, so I drive him to appointment to the store, anything he needs," he begins, his tone defensive but controlled. "I have no idea about the tickets. I don't think I've done anything wrong." Judge Judy leans forward, her gaze never leaving his face. "You're telling me you've been driving your blind uncle around, but you don't know anything about these parking tickets? How convenient." Her words hit like a hammer, and the room seems to tense up with the weight of her questioning. The nephew's hands tighten around the edge of the table, his fingers visibly twitching. The silence lingers for a moment before he speaks again, his voice a little higher, a little more rushed. "I've just been helping him, Judge Judy. He's family. I'd never take advantage of him. He's always been there for me, and I'd never do anything to hurt him." "Hurt him?" Judge Judy repeats, raising an eyebrow. "I'm not talking about hurt. I'm talking about those tickets. Are you telling me you never parked illegally in your uncle's name? You've never gotten any tickets while driving his car?" The question cuts through the room like a knife. The nephew's face pales for a moment, his earlier composure cracking just slightly. I've never parked illegally in his name," he stammers, but his eyes flicker to the papers in front of him. His response seems rehearsed, too perfect. "I didn't know about these tickets. Maybe there's some mistake." Judge Judy doesn't buy it. "A mistake? So, your name just happens to be on all these tickets? And your uncle, who can't even drive, ends up with the bill?" Her tone is cold, precise, and she's not giving him any room to hide. She pauses, letting the weight of the question sink in. The nephew shifts in his seat again, his anxiety growing more evident. "I can't explain the tickets, Judge," he says, avoiding her gaze. "But I swear I haven't done anything wrong." Judge Judy's instincts tell her there's more to the story. She leans back in her chair, her sharp eyes never leaving him. "You're awfully defensive for someone who's been helping out family. Are you sure there's not something you're hiding?" At this point, the room feels charged with suspicion. The nephew's defensiveness, his unease, his failure to look Judge Judy directly in the eye, everything about him seems off. The more he talks, the more the audience begins to question his sincerity. Do you think the nephew is hiding something? Or is this all just a misunderstanding? Comment below and let us know your thoughts on who's really responsible for those tickets. Judge Judy's eyes narrow as she carefully reviews the case files. Her experience tells her there's more to this than meets the eye. She's been through thousands of cases, but something about this one nags at her. The puzzle pieces don't quite fit together. She needs to dig deeper. Without missing a beat, she turns her attention to the phone records. "Let's start with your phone records," she says, her tone matter of fact. Who has been in contact with you recently about Mr. Jenkins' car? Specifically about using it. The nephew stiffens, clearly uncomfortable with the question. I don't know, just family, he replies hastily. But his unease doesn't escape Judge Judy. She's been a judge long enough to spot a lie when she hears it. She flips through the records and highlights a series of calls between the nephew and a local parking garage. What do we have here? She asks, showing the phone record to the room. Calls to a parking lot where tickets are issued regularly? Can you explain these? The nephew's face pales. I don't know, he stammers. Maybe it's just business stuff. His voice trails off, but the damage is already done. Judge Judy's sharp mind quickly connects the dots. Then she pulls up video footage. I've had a look at the security footage from the parking lot near Mr. Jenkins' home, she announces, clicking a button on her tablet. The footage shows the nephew's car parked in no parking zones multiple times, where tickets are routinely issued. There's no denying it. The nephew has been using the car, and he's been parking illegally. The courtroom gasps as the screen shows clear footage of the nephew's car, parked in restricted areas, with the unmistakable no parking signs visible in the background. You parked illegally in these spots, didn't you? Judge Judy asks, her voice cold and unwavering. And you knew full well the consequences of doing so. The nephew tries to deflect. I didn't know. I wasn't thinking, but his words fall flat. You knew exactly what you were doing. And you thought your uncle would never find out, didn't you? Judge Judy continues, her gaze fixed on him. At that moment, the walls of deception begin to crumble. The full scale of the nephew's betrayal comes into sharp focus. He wasn't just parking illegally. He was exploiting his blind uncle's trust and vulnerability. He took advantage of Mr. Jenkins' inability to drive and used it to his advantage, racking up tickets he knew his uncle could never contest. Judge Judy turns to Mr. Jenkins, who's been sitting quietly, watching the pieces fall into place. His face drops as the truth becomes clear. His own flesh and blood had been using him, exploiting his blindness to avoid consequences. The emotional weight of the betrayal hits hard. Mr. Jenkins' trust in his nephew has been shattered. I can't believe it, Mr. Jenkins whispers, his voice barely audible. I trusted him. I thought he was helping me. The courtroom feels heavy with silence as the realization settles in. The stakes have escalated. This is no longer just about a few parking tickets. This is about trust, betrayal, and the exploitation of a vulnerable elderly man. The full extent of the nephew's manipulation has come to light, and the consequences are going to be severe. This just took a shocking turn. Do you think the nephew deserves to face the consequences for what he did? Like this video if you want to see him get what's coming to him. The air in the courtroom is electric, thick with anticipation. Judge Judy sits upright, her eyes sharp and unwavering as she prepares to close in on the nephew once and for all. She's been through dozens of cases like this, but something about this one is personal. The betrayal of family, the exploitation of a vulnerable elderly man. It strikes at the very core of what Judge Judy stands for. Now, she's ready to prove the nephew's guilt beyond a shadow of a doubt. With a deliberate calmness, Judge Judy turns her gaze to the nephew, who is now visibly sweating. We've been through all the evidence, she says, her voice cutting through the tension. But there's one more test I'd like to conduct. Something simple that will expose the truth once and for all. The nephew shifts uncomfortably in his seat, his nervous energy only growing as Judge Judy's words hang in the air. He knows what's coming. This is it. The moment that will decide his fate. Judge Judy leans forward, her gaze unwavering. Mr. Jenkins, she addresses him, her voice firm but with a tinge of empathy. I need you to do something for me. Mr. Jenkins, now seated with his hands trembling on his lap, looks up at Judge Judy, his face filled with a mixture of confusion and exhaustion. He has already been through so much, but now the weight of the truth is starting to settle in. He's been betrayed by the one person he trusted most in the world. I want you to demonstrate something for us, Judge Judy continues. A simple task. A task that every blind person learns to do. Use your cane to navigate across the courtroom. Show us how you would walk, using your cane to find your way. The room falls silent as Mr. Jenkins stands shakily, his white cane in hand. The tension is palpable, every eye in the courtroom fixed on him. But as he begins to move, something unexpected happens. The nephew's body language shifts from nervous to defensive. He knows what's coming next, and it's clear from his expressions that he's watching every move Mr. Jenkins makes. Mr. Jenkins taps his cane in the way he's always been taught, a slow and methodical rhythm that helps him navigate unfamiliar spaces. But then, as he gets closer to the bench, he doesn't stumble. Instead, he adjusts his path with perfect precision, sidestepping with ease, as if he can see exactly where he's going. The courtroom gasps. Judge Judy's eyes narrow. "How did you know to move like that, Mr. Jenkins?" she asks sharply. "You didn't use your cane to detect an obstacle. You adjusted your path like someone who can see exactly where they're going." Mr. Jenkins, his voice shaky but resolute, answers, I don't know. I just moved around it. But I'm blind, Judge Judy." Judge Judy turns her gaze to the nephew, who is now visibly sweating, his face pale. "You think we haven't noticed, don't you?" she says, her voice cold and precise. "You've been using your uncle's blindness as a cover for your actions. You knew exactly where the obstacles were, didn't you? You've been using him, playing on his trust to park illegally and get away with it." The moment of realization is crushing. The nephew's guilt is laid bare for the entire courtroom to see. His defensiveness fades as the truth closes in around him. The lies he's told, the deceit he's hidden behind, all crumble in the face of Judge Judy's relentless questioning. The emotional toll on Mr. Jenkins is evident. His face crumples as the truth hits him, the betrayal from someone he considered family. His hands shake as he struggles to come to terms with what's been done to him. This wasn't just a mistake, this was manipulation. Judge Judy stands, her voice steady as she addresses the room. This man thought he could get away with using his uncle's name, exploiting his vulnerability to avoid the consequences of his own actions. But he's been caught, and now the truth is clear. The nephew's lies are unraveling. What do you think should happen to people who take advantage of their own family? Hit like if you think the truth is finally being revealed. The courtroom is heavy with anticipation, the air thick with the weight of everything that's been uncovered. Judge Judy, having carefully navigated through the labyrinth of lies, deception, and betrayal, now sits tall behind her bench. Her sharp eyes scan the room, and the entire courtroom is silent, waiting for her final decision. "Mr. Jenkins," Judge Judy begins, her voice calm but filled with authority. "I've seen a lot in my years on the bench, but this one strikes a different chord. What your nephew did, using you for his own gain, is not only morally wrong, it's criminal." The nephew sits quietly at the defendant's table, his face pale, his earlier arrogance long gone. The emotional toll of the trial has visibly worn him down, but the reality of the situation is now unavoidable. He tried to manipulate his uncle, knowing full well that Mr. Jenkins couldn't defend himself. Now he was about to pay the price for exploiting a vulnerable elderly man. Judge Judy shifts her gaze to the legal documents before her, the pile of parking tickets, and the evidence that has been stacked against the nephew. "After everything we've uncovered, after all the lies and manipulation, I've come to a decision," she continues, her voice cutting through the silence. The nephew's shoulders tighten as he waits for the inevitable. His fate is sealed, and the tension in the room rises. The tickets against Mr. Jenkins will be dismissed. The burden of these fines, which he never should have been held accountable for in the first place, will be lifted. He is not responsible for the actions of a man who used him for personal gain, Judge Judy declares. The relief in Mr. Jenkins' eyes is immediate, but his face is still tinged with sorrow. This victory is bittersweet. The audience can feel the shift in the atmosphere. It's as if a weight has been lifted from Mr. Jenkins' shoulders, though the emotional toll of the betrayal will stay with him for a long time. His relief is palpable, but it's clear that what matters most to him is not the money. It's the deep betrayal from someone he loved and trusted. Judge Judy continues, her tone unyielding. But that's not all. Your nephew, Mr. Jenkins, has to pay the price for the pain he's caused. I'm ordering him to pay the total amount of these fines, the $14,200 he's forced you to carry, and all legal fees you've incurred during this ordeal. The nephew's face falls further as Judge Judy's words sink in. You used your uncle, someone who trusted you, and thought you could get away with it. But this court doesn't stand for that. You'll pay the price for your actions. And more importantly, you'll learn that no one is above the law, not even family. The nephew stammers, trying to salvage whatever dignity he has left. But Judge, I didn't mean for it to get this far, his voice trails off. But Judge Judy doesn't allow him to escape the truth. It doesn't matter what you meant, she says coldly. What matters is what you did. You took advantage of a man who could barely defend himself. You knew exactly what you were doing, and now you'll face the consequences. The weight of the judgment falls on him like a ton of bricks. He looks defeated, knowing that his manipulation and greed have cost him dearly. Judge Judy's voice softens just a touch as she turns to Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Jenkins, I want you to know that you're not alone. This court is here to protect people like you, vulnerable, trusting individuals who deserve respect and dignity, not exploitation. There's a long pause as the audience watches Mr. Jenkins slowly exhale, his relief almost tangible. His shoulders relax for the first time in what seems like forever. The fight has been long and hard, but finally, justice has been served. The camera zooms in on Mr. Jenkins as he turns to face his nephew one last time, his eyes filled with a mix of sorrow and finality. He no longer has to carry the weight of the tickets, but the emotional burden of betrayal remains. He stands taller now, his strength returning as the finality of the court's ruling settles in. The weight of injustice has been lifted, and a sense of justice and emotional relief has taken place. What do you think should happen to people who take advantage of their own family for personal gain? Hit like if you think the truth has finally been revealed and justice has been served. As the courtroom settles into a heavy silence, Judge Judy looks around the room, taking in the weight of the case that has just unfolded. This wasn't just another case of financial wrongdoing or a simple misunderstanding. This was something deeper, something that hits closer to home for so many people. The betrayal of family. Her voice, filled with conviction and authority, breaks the stillness. What we've witnessed today is a prime example of how far someone will go to take advantage of another person. And what makes it even more heartbreaking is that this victim wasn't just a stranger. This was someone's family. A person who trusted the one person he thought would care for him. Mr. Jenkins didn't deserve to be exploited, and neither does anyone else. Judge Judy pauses, letting her words sink in, and the courtroom listens intently. We have to remember the importance of protecting those who are vulnerable, people like Mr. Jenkins who can't defend themselves. Whether it's the elderly, the disabled, or anyone who finds themselves at the mercy of others, it's our responsibility to make sure they are treated with dignity, not exploited for someone else's gain. She turns to the audience, her eyes unwavering as she delivers the final piece of wisdom in the case. What happened here today isn't just about parking tickets and money. It's about honesty and integrity. It's about making sure that no one, no matter their age or situation, is ever taken advantage of. And when they are, the consequences need to be clear. The law has to stand for fairness and accountability. There's a moment of quiet reflection as Judge Judy looks toward Mr. Jenkins, who is still processing the events that have unfolded. He stands there, his face filled with a mixture of relief and sadness. His journey has been long and emotionally exhausting, but today, in this courtroom, justice has been done. He's been vindicated not just by the ruling, but by the unwavering truth that has finally been exposed. Turning back to the nephew, Judge Judy's expression hardens. "As for you," she says, her voice ice cold, "the consequences of your actions are now for the world to see. You betrayed your family, used your uncle's vulnerability for your own gain, and thought you could get away with it. But let this be a lesson to anyone who thinks they can exploit those who trust them. There is always reckoning." The nephew's face is ashen, his eyes avoiding the gaze of everyone in the room. His arrogance from earlier has been replaced with something else. Fear. Fear of the consequences. Fear of the shame that now clings to him like a shadow. He now faces the reality of what his betrayal has cost him, not just financially, but in his relationship with his family and his integrity as a person. The shame of being publicly exposed as a manipulator and a liar will follow him for the rest of his life. Judge Judy pauses for a final moment, allowing her words to land. The camera zooms in on Mr. Jenkins, whose shoulders relax as the weight of the entire ordeal lifts off of him. He doesn't smile, but there's a quiet dignity in the way he stands, knowing that the truth has been revealed and that justice has finally been served. Judge Judy stands up from her bench, her eyes scanning the room as she delivers her closing remarks. Let this be a reminder to us all that honesty and integrity should be at the heart of everything we do. People like Mr. Jenkins deserve protection, not exploitation. And when those who seek to harm others are caught, justice must follow. No one should be above accountability, especially when it comes to family. She gestures toward the nephew one last time, her voice final and resolute. Your future is in your own hands now. But I hope this serves as a wake-up call to anyone else who thinks they can take advantage of the elderly, the vulnerable, or anyone who trusts them. The law will not stand for it, and neither should we. As Judge Judy concludes her statement, the room falls silent once more. Mr. Jenkins takes a deep breath, his eyes moist with the relief of knowing that the truth has been uncovered and that justice has prevailed. The weight that had been bearing down on him for so long has been lifted, but the emotional toll of betrayal will stay with him for some time. What do you think is the right consequence for people who betray family for personal gain? Let us know in the comments. And if you think Judge Judy's justice was spot on, make sure you subscribe to get more of these powerful courtroom moments.